Hello, welcome along to Sportsbet TV with me, Paul Alster, looking ahead now to day 2 of Royal Ascot on June the 15th on Wednesday. This bulletin being recorded on Monday lunchtime for technical reasons. And so some of the prices that I may point to here may well be subject to quite big changes. So do bear those in mind as you're looking through to get a view of the horses that I'm recommending for you. If you happen to be stumbling across the channel for the first time, then well done indeed. You could have found yourself something really good here. We've done great over the last nearly 2 years with consistent profits month to month, season to season, year to year, by tipping decent each way prices, some of them respectable 5 and 6 to 1 chances, others as big as 60 to 1, 80 to 1 winners along the way. So once again, I'm looking for decent value, and that factors into 1 or 2 of my eventual selections for Wednesday, for which I'm looking at 3 races. Now, there's no bet in the opening Queen Mary Stakes on Wednesday, the 2-year-old race. I just think it's rather too difficult. Well, remember, if you haven't already done so, please press the subscribe button just below this screen, and then you won't miss any of my bulletins for Royal Ascot or any other time for that matter. So my first choice is in the 305 race at Ascot on Wednesday, the Queen's Vase. It's Group 2 these days, this race. It used to be over 2 miles. It's over 1.75 miles for the last few years. It's for 3-year-olds only, and there are 12 runners. Now, the going is forecast once again good to firm generally, probably a bit of good in places. Now, a lot of uncertainties as far as stamina goes with a few of these runners, because none of them have ever run further than 1.5 miles, so they're all going into unknown territory, and that can very much change the balance of things. Some of them haven't even run beyond 1.25 miles, so they'll be stepping up 0.5 mile, which will either prove a key to improved performance, or they'll run out of puff and start to be flagging in the final 2 furlongs. Now, I'll be straight with you here. I've been in a bit of a quandary, because there are 2 horses that I've been looking at for the last couple of weeks to run here at Royal Ascot in this race and also in the King Edward VII Stakes. And I was hoping that they would not clash. They would run in separate races to make my job that little bit easier. But sod's law, you know how it is. They're both running in this race. So I've had to put my thinking cap on, which I did. I've then had to eventually make a change. The 2 horses are the unbeaten, twice raced Eldar Alderov, and the other one is the Derby 7th Nahani. Now, originally, I plumped for Nahani, and I was going to be telling you to back this one at the 6 to 1 that was being offered Monday morning each way. Trained by Charlie Appleby, ridden by William Buick. My tip for the Derby, you may remember, he was expected to make the running, and a stamina horse to really get rolling coming down the hill, to tap the corner and kick on. Of course, it all went wrong at the start. Those nutters that had the firework display certainly did no favours to Nahani. He got really steered up by the fireworks. He missed the break. He was always at the back. Eventually, staying on in the closing stages to finish 7th was a really good effort. Now, quite how much that took out of him, I don't know, but they're going again with him fairly quickly. So they obviously feel this tough horse, who was really progressive prior to that, with 3 very good wins, including the Blue Ribbon Trial at Epsom over 1.25 miles, following 2 wins at 1.5 miles. They obviously feel that he's up to running again quickly. But having said all of that, and having decided that he was probably going to be the one to recommend, I've looked at the revised odds following the declarations late Monday morning, and they're only going 7 to 2, and that's not an each way price. So reluctantly, to some degree, but sometimes you just got to go for the value. I'm going to oppose Nahani. It might be that if he drifts, which he could do, I might have a bit of a saver. But my choice here is going to be Eldar Eldarov. Now, this horse, trained by Roger Varian, is the mount of David Egan. He's the one I've been waiting for. He was going to be my Derby selection, but of course he didn't run in the Derby. Roger also chose not to run Eden, the horse I tipped you that ran into 4th place for us in the Guineas at big odds. So both of Varian's horses didn't go to the Derby. I know they hold this horse in really high regard. He's 2 from 2. He won on debut at Nottingham at the end of last season in October. Often the Nottingham maidens over a mile are really worth keeping an eye on. Late maturing 2-year-olds that are going to be good 3-year-olds, and he bolted him by 5 lengths. And then he went to Newcastle to run on the all-weather track there over a mile and a quarter. That was on May the 24th, and he absolutely hacked up there. Now, all-weather form can sometimes be a bit dodgy, although, you know, sometimes it can prove to be a decent stepping stone. And Abel, you'll remember, used to go down to Kempton for the Group 3 there and running that before going to Longshot, etc. But I have to say that having had a look through the race of the Newcastle form, the form is working out remarkably. The third horse, Honiton of John Gosden's, he won the next time out. Actually, it was on Saturday at Sandown. He won by 9 lengths in a maiden, and he was well stuffed by Eldar Alderov. The fifth horse there came second in a Doncaster maiden at the weekend. The seventh horse, who was beaten 11 lengths, Lizzie Jean, that won a Kempton Novice Stakes over a mile and 3 furlongs last week by 3.5 lengths. And the ninth horse, who was 150 to 1 that day at Newcastle, Gordon's Jet, was beaten 20 lengths, beaten out of sight. It's only gone and won a Catterick maiden earlier this month as well. So when you get 150 to 1 shots coming on from the race to win, even though it was Catterick, even winning a maiden after that, the form has to be worth a proper coat of looking at. And I do believe that Eldar Alderov is a horse with great potential. Obviously, Roger Varian has seen in his training that the horse is probably blessed with a little more stamina than he'd originally thought, and has decided to go for this race instead of the King Edward VII Stakes. And he represents the value. And at the time of this recording, which is taking place on Monday lunchtime, he's available at 13 to 2. And so 13 to 2 each way for 4 places, I think is worth a crack. It may well drift. You'll have to wait and see into Tuesday and into Wednesday, because this is a very early bulletin. But I think Eldar Alderov is the value against Nahani. Those are the 2 I really think are worth concentrating on in the Queen's Vase. I'll be very surprised if they're not involved in the finish. So that's my first race focus at Royal Ascot on Wednesday, the 3:05, the Group 2 Queen's Vase, and eventually Eldar Alderov is my choice. Now, moving on to later on in the day, and as you all know, nothing gets me going more than a big handicap, big field handicap. And I just love getting stuck into handicap form. And one of the biggest handicaps of the week is on Wednesday at Royal Ascot. It's the carefully pronounced Royal Hunt Cup over the straight mile. Huge field here, 33 runners may go. It's on the good to firmish ground. And this is having overlooked the previous 2 races, the Prince of Wales's Stakes, where there were only 5 runners, and the Duke of Cambridge, where I can't make head nor tail of it. But in this race at Royal Ascot, the Royal Hunt Cup, I think there are some very interesting runners. Now, obviously, it is a cavalry charge with such a huge field. I'm glad I'm not commentating on it. That's all I can say. I used to do. And you take a very deep breath and plenty of Imodium and hope for the best in these big field handicaps at Ascot and at Goodwood and elsewhere. Anyway, good luck to the commentators, whoever it might be. You need a bit of luck in running, and you also need the draw to favour you, because you don't always know which side is going to be preferred. So because of that, I'm offering you 2 selections in the Royal Hunt Cup, 1 drawn on each side of the course. And they could split into 2 or 3 groups, we'll see. But you may recall that when I was tipping in the Victoria Cup at Ascot earlier in the season, I highlighted the chance of Vafortino, who was my tip, under the stands rail, the higher numbers, which I think are generally favoured. And that might well prove to be the case again. Vafortino originally entered for this, does not run. So I'm not going to go through too many of the 30-odd runners, but the likes of Dark Shift, Charlie Hill's horse, Magic Morning for the Gosdens, Intelligent for Jane Chapel High, and Sinjari and Cruyff Turn were all horses that I considered. But eventually I've come up with these 2. And from the group likely to race on the far side, drawn in stall 9, is ASTRO King, who's going to be among the favourites for this. He's trained by Sir Michael Stout and the mount of Ryan Moore. Absolutely tip-top team. Won the Derby, of course. Sir Michael Stout and Ryan Moore win so many great races every year. And I think ASTRO King has really bright prospects. He was second in the race last year. He actually won the race on his side of the course, but he caught a bit of a tartar in the shape of the Godolphin horse Real World, who absolutely bolted up and turned out to be a proper group horse. Well, he's going to be better for his reappearance from this season in the Thirsk Hunt Cup. That was in late April. We know that he handles good to firm ground. We know he goes well in a big field. And he's only £4 higher than when second in the race last year. And I think potentially this horse, now maturing into a good 5-year-old, could turn into a pattern race performer, possibly group class. So early on, just with the prices going up, I'm seeing they're offering 8 to 1 each way, and you can get 6 places available. You may well find bookies going 7 or 8 places. So look out for that and shop around, because some may go bigger prices, of course, depending on how their book is looking and where they need to balance. So ASTRO King is my first choice. My second choice from the near side group towards the stand side, as we'll see them on our television pictures, is drawn in stall 29, so just a few off the stands rail, and that is SYMBOLIZE, trained by Andrew Balding and the mount of the very exciting young apprentice Harry Davis, whose £5 claim could well prove crucial. Now, SYMBOLIZE, at first glance, is a horse who appears to be best suited by a soft surface. He certainly handles soft ground well, but I don't think it's essential to his chance. He has actually won on good to firm ground in the past. Now, he goes well at Ascot. He was a solid 7th of 28 at last year's Royal Meeting in the Buckingham Palace Stakes. Significantly, that was over 7 furlongs, not 8. But his best effort came back at Ascot on the straight mile on Champions Day in October, where he finished an excellent second to Aldari in the Balmoral Handicap. Now, that showed that he really loves the big fields at Ascot. He loves the straight course. And this time, I think the draw is good towards the near side. He's got that really good £5 claimer on board. Solid form and a really good effort at Thirsk on his reappearance in a conditions event over what is possibly an inadequate 7 furlongs. He's had a couple of months to just get over that, be primed for this. And I think Andrew Balding has had his eyes on this prize for some time. So at odds seen at the moment of 20 to 1 each way, and I see Paddy Power amongst those offering 7 places. SYMBOLIZE is my second choice in the massive field of 30-plus runners in the Royal Hunt Cup at Royal Ascot, the 5 o'clock on Wednesday. And then my third choice, well, that is in the final race on Wednesday, the Kensington Palace Stakes. Now, this one is for fillies and mares. It's on the round course over a mile. And amazingly, they're scheduling 23 runners. Now, that is a huge field on the round course, and there could be all sorts of bother. So I have to say, I wouldn't be getting too heavily involved. I won't say keep your bets to an absolute minimum, but bear in mind that with 23 runners on the round course, you do need a bit of luck in running. So it could be a rough race. And a few that are interesting here include the Irish raider, Joseph O'Brien's horse, Hazia, who I think has a proper chance after a very good run with 3rd of 27. That was, of course, on the straight course, straightish course at the Curragh in the Emerald Mile last time out. Now, Saeed bin Saror does really well at Royal Ascot handicaps. He's got an interesting runner called White Moonlight, who was a good 2-year-old 3 years ago, winning both races, promising a great deal, and then was off for 2 years and 9 months until finishing a very promising 3rd at Chelmsford just 2 weeks ago. So she obviously had a great deal of problems. Now, significantly, you would have thought that with such a good pedigree, they'd probably just turn her off to the paddocks and start breeding from her when she was unbeaten as a juvenile. But they've decided to keep her in training, and I think that's almost a tip in itself. So I do think that she is one to be very, very wary of. Roger Varian has both Angel Power and Mubadra, who I think have chances. And at bigger odds, quite big odds, Don't Tell Claire for Daniel and Claire Kubler, I think is one that has a bit of an each-way squeak. But my choice is a horse called Spirit of the Bay, trained by Clive Cox, who does well at Royal Ascot. And William Cox, his son, is on board claiming £3. Now, this horse was really progressive last season, starting from a fairly low mark in handicaps. He rattled off a 4-timer during the summer and went up a total of £20. So he was really progressive. But he's gone close in 2 of his 3 runs this season, including when beaten just ahead at Ascot over the straight mile last time out. And that was behind Soft Whisper, who reopposes another of Saeed bin Sarour's runners in this race. On that occasion, Soft Whisper managed to get first run there on Spirit of the Bay. And Spirit of the Bay was really closing it down in the closing stages. If William Cox is able to sit just a little bit closer to the pace, and with that prerequisite luck in running, I think that Spirit of the Bay can go really well. And his £3 claim really could be the difference between victory and defeat when push comes to shove. So Spirit of the Bay for me, 16-1 each way. 6 places are offered by Betfred at the time of this early recording Monday lunchtime. And I think it'll run well, as long as it gets the gaps at the right time, of course. So 3 choices for you, or choices in 3 races. There are 4 horses I've highlighted here particularly, even allowing for Nahani, which may be a saver depending on what price it will be in the Queen's Fars against Eldar Alderov. Very interesting day on Wednesday. I'll be back with my day 3 selections, of course. Ladies' Day, Gold Cup Day on Thursday, and those will be up for you on Wednesday afternoon. I'm wishing you, of course, as always, the very best of luck. Enjoy your racing. Enjoy the Royal Meeting. I'll be back with more later in the week. Bye for now.